we are on video number 5, and this is just examples of narrative writing. And to be able to do that, what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you click the link here. So when you click it, you'll have some fiction mentor text passages. It'll automatically just launch, and you can scroll up and down. Now, these are just different story types that you can look at. This one's a fiction narrative. So you can kind of look at, are they, just to get some ideas for some stories, because I know some of you are like, I don't know what to write about. And you want to see some examples about, the different types of stories. So, for example, this is a fiction narrative here. Again, Pugsley is going to be a dog, so this one's going to be a fantasy story. The field trip lesson, this could possibly be a realistic fiction, meaning parts of the story are real and parts of the story are not real. Or it could be a personal narrative, meaning this story did actually happen. I'm just retelling the story. I didn't change any of the facts, I didn't change any of the names. But if I go in and change names and some of the details, then it becomes a realistic fiction. But if I tell the story exactly like it happened, then it's a personal narrative. So this field trip lesson could be either or. I don't honestly know without actually asking the author. I don't know who the author was of this story. So I'm going to assume it could be either one. It could be either the personal narrative, a real story told without changing any facts, or it could be a realistic fiction where they told the story but they changed a few of the facts, like where it happened or some of the names. And that's okay. You can do that. It looks like this could be also a realistic fiction or a personal narrative in some form or fashion. One note here, Once Upon a Time isn't usually the strongest start to a introduction, so usually that goes to fairy tales, and we're not writing any fairy tales in 4th grade. It looks like this might be a realistic fiction or a personal narrative. This could be as well. The Fireless Dragon is going to be, again, a fantasy, so that's going to be a fiction, meaning it's not real. The characters talk, that sort of stuff. So go ahead and just glance through some of these stories. Take a look at how they start them. Take a look at how they develop them. Take a look at some of the transition words that they use in the story. So we'll talk about these in a little more detail as we go through, learning about how to create narrative stories. Okay, I'm hoping that many of you will experiment with different types of narrative writing. I hope that you give me a personal narrative. I hope you give me a realistic fiction, and I hope that you give me just a fiction narrative, meaning it's totally made up, totally fantastic sort of story. So I am looking for all of those stories. I'm hoping that you can give me many different types over the year. At least 3 different types. That way, because they have similarities to them. Okay? And again, if you have any questions, you want some further examples of narrative stories, please let me know. I can certainly let you find some. And again, we will be talking about some of the endings of the story, talk about transitions, how do we set up paragraphs, word choice. You notice that these have little day 16, we're talking about adding dialogue. Well, that story was picked because it has some really nice dialogue, characters talking to each other. This story was picked because of word choice, has strong descriptive word choices. They don't always say, said, and. He said, she said, she was mad, she was mad, she was mad. They use some nice descriptive word choices in here. Paragraphs, this story should do a nice job with how to break up your story so it's not all one long paragraph. So that is what the days are. They tell you kind of what the story is trying to focus on. So if you were kind of curious on how to develop your character, you could come to this story and kind of look at it and say, oh, okay, yeah, I can see how they developed the character. Like, how did the character begin and how did the character end? How did the character change? That sort of stuff. Again, if you have any questions, get a hold of me. I'll be walking around doing check-ins, conferences, as you guys are working on your templates. Have a great time. I am really going to be excited about what you guys are working on, how your stories are developing. See you soon.